Hi everybody, Andy McPhee here, along with Doug Kenny, the main host of Relentless and Unstoppable. As with each series we do, I let people know how this started. Relentless and Unstoppable started about a year and a half ago after my coaching and mentoring of Doug for 6.5 years. Doug is an incredible human being who was he's dealing with high functioning autism, and at school he was dealing with obesity and bullying and depression and medication and hospitalization, all those things that tend to come along with when you're dealing with something in life. And Doug, over the last few years, we've had an amazing journey. He's gone from 300 pounds to down to close to under 200 now. He does yoga, running, walking. He's now into bodybuilding, which we've organized and helped him, do it the correct way. His diet is incredible, and it's an inspiration of his story, which is why I created this channel. And since then, I think Doug said to me the other day, and he can confirm this, we've had probably 181,000 views over the last year or so, which is great for a couple of guys who have no idea what they're doing at all, like zero. But we're getting better, and I'm actually learning off Doug now because he is very relentless. He never gives up. So, Doug, I'll hand it over to you to introduce our amazing guest.
To be continued from our previous episode.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Doug, I'm sure you've got some more questions.
Yeah, I must ask you, Amelia, with the work that you have on a regular basis with, your work and raising a toddler and all that, do you ever have those moments where so much stuff is happening and so many things are happening, you're achieving so much, and time flies by, and when someone asks you, what have you been doing for the past year? And you're like, has it been a year already?
Yes. I have to do a lot of self-reflection. I'm like, what did I do today? And so I do a list. I check it off. Did I check everything on my list off today? No, there was 2 things I didn't, but I'll try again tomorrow. So, yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, here's a question. What do you use to remind you? Like, do you use any special scheduling app or just simply messages in your phone?
Just Google, what is this? Google Calendar. So here's my schedule.
Oh, yeah.
So that, and then sometimes I see my therapist, and she like gets me organized, and I have notes, and yeah. So just.
And like Doug's the same, right? Doug's got it's called AnyDo. It's a great little reminder. Now, Doug, I think it sends pop-ups to your phone, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It sends pop-ups to my phone, to my computer, which is connected to my phone, and yeah.
And how do you find that helps you, Doug? Because you have a lot on your day, and plus, the autism, it distracts you in a good way, because sometimes you get focused on something and then you'll forget something else, which, I mean, we all do that. But with autism, and what I've learned off you, that you do get focused on something and you do tend to forget sometimes, but that pop-up helps you, right?
It does, yeah.
Doug, so what other questions do you have for Amelia, since you're an author as well? What advice maybe can you give Amelia if she has any questions?
So, Amelia, did you have any struggles with the book that were holding you back?
Just fear of once I published it, the world would know my daughter had autism. And not that I was ashamed of it, but I always I don't want her to be ashamed that she has it. And I wanted her to be able to tell her own story and not be this mom like, my kid has autism, look at me, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a struggle for me.
Yeah, if I had any advice to give you on that, I'm going to use a quote spoken to us by a previous Relentless guest. Autism is nothing to be ashamed of. It's an ability, not a disability.
Mm.
Thank you, Daddy. Mhm.
Yeah, it is. And look, just me personally, from Doug working with him for so long, I see how the functioning of the autism works for him, and also, his mum, like what she deals with, and then my son and what his mum deals with. So it's not easy, and especially if you're a single parent, and even if you have a partner and they're working, it's like you said, it's 24/7, because their world is their world. And it takes a lot. And I think what you're doing with this book, and also, writing a second book whenever you feel appropriate, is a really good guide for parents going through that, and to follow her story, and then possibly inspire other people to start maybe not trying to do it on their own. And do you have any support at all from autism groups to help you through when you need some questions answered, or you're struggling a bit?
Being honest, I'm in a few the parent autism groups on like Facebook, but I don't like them. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I have a few friends that have children too, that have two friends with children with autism that I can go to. And that part, it can be lonely for parents, but don't give up, and don't I was tell parents not to force relationships, especially on like Facebook and stuff, but you can learn a lot from social media. Just be careful. I like the intimate and let's talk, and not writing a paragraph on Facebook. But
yeah, I know. I've seen a few groups of different things, and a lot of people do get on there and share a lot. For me too, I agree, it's a bit too overwhelming. I'd prefer to be in sort of a private little group where you're sharing, and it's not so overwhelming with so much dialogue being thrown at you. You're more after a sort of an intimate conversation, and to get some question answered to some of the things that you struggle with, and you might be able to inspire someone else, and vice versa.
I agree.
Yeah. Can I ask one thing? How long did it take you to write the book?
To actually write it, probably like a day or two.
Wow.
But it's just, once I get going, because I'm a night owl anyway, and then Eden's up, so
there you go.
So it was just getting it published, getting an editor who is also an autistic woman, and finding an illustrator. So just that part, is the hardest part. And so,
Well, that's cool. You did it. And I'm sure now when it's ready to do the next book, you'll have a lot more experiences between then and when she's a little bit older. Probably, what do you think? Maybe around about 8 or 9?
Yeah. I think that's a good age. Yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, Doug, we've pretty much nearly time's up. Do you have a few more questions for Amelia before we finish? And we will get back to you again, Amelia, and just say a couple of months, just to see, how you're progressing, how the book's going. Okay. Doug will obviously help share that, and just see what's happened between now and then with the book out,
Okay, thank you.
So my last question I have, Amelia, is how can your story impact the world?
Well, I actually, I had a few parents already come to me and thank me, and one parent actually is hiding the fact that their kid has autism because they don't know how the family will, take it, but I think my book will just bring awareness. And there's not a lot of books about women or girls, especially Black women and girls on the autism spectrum. So I think my book is very unique. We're all in this together. I know we've heard that since 2020, but it really, autism is not a race thing or a gender thing or economic thing. You know, everybody, you know, is, I guess, may have to deal with it, you know, or know someone that has to. So we should just learn more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, just that's a good question, Doug. Really good.
It is.
Because I know with when they're at school, sometimes they can fit in depending what, you know, level on the spectrum, but there is also still something missing, like whether it be learning capabilities. Not that they can't learn, but their mind is in another space. And I know a friend of ours had trouble with their son at high school. He was fine, but he was also got into a lot of trouble because he was being influenced by other kids who were making him do things which they knew he would do, you know, because he wanted to have friends. And so sometimes, so not to get bullied, they'll tend to hang around with people that they feel are going to be friends, but they also use them up too, you know, knowing that they will, you know, do something they think's hilarious, but then that person unfortunately gets into trouble. And that's caused a few problems for people I know with their kids at school.
Yeah.
Did that ever happen to you, Doug, at all? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
what was that, Amelia?
Something I should watch out for in the future. So thank you for.
Yeah, and look, who knows? I don't know if it's all on everybody, but Doug would know. Like, did that ever happen to you, Doug, at school?
Yeah, that did happen to me. One time in high school, I was entering a class that I wasn't a part of to talk to a teacher about an assignment that I forgot to submit and apologizing. And right when I was about to leave, two students told me that someone that I was having a feud with wanted to talk with me. And so I went up to him to see if he wanted to talk. He got upset with me. And the result was I ended up getting into trouble because it was a guy that I wasn't supposed to talk to because of past issues, even though other people had said to me he wanted to talk to you. So, yeah.
Yeah, just that subtle form of bullying, you know.
Yeah.
It's but that, yeah, and that unfortunately does happen to a lot of kids at school, which we have another series we talk on bullying, and yeah, it can have severe consequences for anyone who's bullied unless they have the right support and they're strong enough to just not let that affect them. But when you get, you know, kids who may be dealing with something like autism or whatever level of the spectrum they're on, that can really affect them and have them totally afraid to go to school, you know.
Yeah, and that's really tough, you know. Yeah, just an idea, Amelia, for your next book. It's just some thoughts, although you can do what you wish. Maybe the book you make could focus on things related to bullying, since by then she probably would have gone through that.
Yeah. Because right now she's in preschool and everything is candies and rainbows. She loves school. So
Yeah.
she has an experience. But yeah, definitely I would love to touch on that. And
well, you know, let's hope she doesn't go through bullying.
Yeah,
definitely.
But it's just kids are kids. And okay, so it's just a final question for today. Would you have to send her to a special school for, you know, like since she's nonverbal, where they'd be able to assist her more with learning?
After preschool?
Yeah.
So she's in the Higley School District in Gilbert, and they have a program for her there that she can just transition to. And then Gilbert Public School has something called the SPICE program just for students with autism. And then there's a number of charter schools. We actually visited Lawrence Institute last month. So there's a lot of choices, you know, out there.
No, that's cool. Yeah,
we're going to keep our options open.
Yeah, no, that's well, that's good that the options are there because that wasn't years ago.
I hear.
No, or they were, but they were very few and far between. So that's awesome. Hey, Amelia, thanks for introducing us to your
Thank
daughter
you.
and your book and what you're doing. And truly, Doug will absolutely help,
Thank you, Doug.
get that book out to social media. And also, we look forward to talking to you again in a few months, just to see, where you're at and how you're dealing with things and how she's going as well.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Doug, for inviting me. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. It's great talking to you, and I love your book. It's so cute. The cover, it's great.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.